Thank you so much for clicking on this first episode. On today's topic, how are foods impacting your health and what can you do about it? Welcome. This is the Paradigm Shift. Thank you very much. Opening sequence, yeah, I hope you like it. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift. What is this show? Do we need another show? Yes, we need another show. This show is kind of fundamental, I think. Why? Because people are lost, people are confused. We have lost our connection with why we are living in this world. We seem to be just machines that are functioning from birth till death, and in between all we do is work, and we have no conception anymore of what living and quality of life seems to entail. And even though we're trying to figure out like how do we get out of this rat race, this rhythm, we don't seem to be truly getting a grip on how we can get out. And that's why this show is needed. This show wants to institute our connections to our health, our connection to nature. It wants to figure out how do we deal with new technologies that are here. We want to explore science, we want to explore spirituality, but we also want to explore history, and all of these things. There's a different way at looking at them than what you have been taught at school, and that's what we're gonna get out of today. So today, first episode is food. I take it that you eat 3 times a day, a meal. Yes, then there might be some useful information in this episode. Now, food, our modern foods, they're a great source of basically diseases of prosperity. We have lost the idea that food can be medicine as well. We only seem to understand it as the thing that helps us to get rid of hunger. And also the nutrition has been lowered quite significantly in the last couple of 50 years. So we're gonna have a deep dive into it and what has happened to our food. So let's just go through it. So any regular supermarket, grocery store, you go into it, and all of the things that you're seeing in there, it's 80% of it is hyper processed. So right away, off the bat, your local grocery store, 80% of what you see there, we're just gonna put that aside, and we're just not gonna deal with that for just a minute. I'm gonna come back to it. So that leaves us with 20%. Let's say those 20%, those are whole foods. Now, that's your basis of what you would consider healthy, right? That's what your ancestors have been eating for a long time. And we're gonna look at that, and if when we look at that, we see that they have been sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, all kinds of different things that are on there. Let's figure out how. How our food has become what it has become. But first, let me show you around a little bit. Welcome to my studio. So this is my studio. I have my setup right here. I can see everything that's going on. I have a different camera, so I can have a guest here, for instance, and they can I can have a good face to face and have a good conversation. Um, I also have a secondary camera or a tertiary camera, you would call it. I don't have a guest right now, but I put the camera on my dog, which is she's here with me tonight. Hanala? Yeah. Anyway, so it's just me here tonight. It's my first show as well, so I hope you forgive me a little bit if I'm looking at my notes a little bit, but it's all been well prepared. First episode today. We're gonna be we're basically gonna be looking at food, but I cannot do all of the foods. I hope you understand that there's so much stuff that we eat. So I'm just gonna take one exemplary food item today, and it's gonna be symbolic for everything that you eat. So we're gonna deep dive in this one compact piece of food, and what's it gonna be? What's the type of food that we're gonna look at? Well, we are gonna, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna fight Big Tomato. Yes, we're gonna we're gonna fight a big tomato. We're gonna fight Big Tomato Industries. It's of course it's a figure of speech. Tomatoes. I love tomatoes. They're quite nice if they're good, but I'm sure you have had the experience that some tomatoes are not so good, and mainly the reason why that has happened is because what we are dealing with is people who engineer food. They engineer it like it's a piece of equipment or a tool, and that's not something that's very odd. That's what people have been doing for many thousands of years. It's called hybridization, but we are hybridizing currently in a very strange way. We're not hybridizing anymore for the best taste or the best quality. We are hybridizing to get an outcome for very different things. So I have a clip for you, and let's have a look at it.
Chaim Rabinovich and his colleagues invented the eternal tomato. This innovation has transformed the world market.
Why you begin to work on the long shelf life?
Because of this waste of 40% of the yield. Before this mutation, the limit was 2-3 days, 4 days at the most. When we exported tomatoes to Europe, and we exported a lot of tomatoes, we used to fly it by airplanes, because if it has to go by boat from Israel to Marseille, the tomato will be mushy.
Yes, the tomato will be mushy if you fly it from Israel all the way to Marseille. Yes. Why would we need to do that? Well, because we live in a global market of food supply. Israel is a great food producing country, but yeah, if you live in the desert, it's difficult to keep quality food alive. So right away we have a big issue here. It's transport. How can we engineer our food in such a way that we can transport it for long distances? Because yeah, we don't produce all of our food locally anymore. We produce them at the place where we have the best environmental factors for that, or maybe the cheapest labor, or maybe the right climate, or all of these things. So yeah, so let's have a look at that. How does hybridization, how does it work basically?
Here is the Israeli researchers' idea. They have cross-pollinated a plant with regular tomatoes that decay within 3 days, with a plant carrying a natural genetic defect that prevents the ripening of the fruit. They have thus ended up with a long-lasting hybrid tomato that, once picked, will decay much slower.
Yes. So this basically happens with all of your food, either if it's potatoes, tomatoes, or if it's your basic is your broccoli, or whatever kind of food that you're thinking of. This process has been going on with people who try to optimize your food for transport, for the biggest amount of yield, the amount of decay, to diminish the amount of decay, to make it more attractive to you, so you will buy it, maybe make it bigger, have a mass production of it, maybe diminish the effects that insects can have on it, make a long shelf life, and all of these things serve one thing. And that's the amount of revenue that it gives the person who produces it that way. And that's why these inventions are done basically by scientists. Dr. Rabinovich is a scientist, and this kind of science can only exist because there's a market for it. Because once you can, you don't have to throw 40% of your produce away anymore. You can sell all of it, and so that raises a lot of money. The downside of that is that we haven't produced anymore for our own taste, for our own nutrition. And so imagine how a tomato that doesn't decay for a long time, imagine what it tastes like.
Tasteless. The genes for ripening inhibition, carry with them some negative traits. For instance, flavor. The taste deteriorates.
The taste deteriorates. Now, we have to understand that the world that we live in is so complex, and the reason why we have made it so complex, why we could have made it so complex, is because we have compartmentalized everything. We have compartmentalized, and then in that compartmentalization, we have specialized, and we have gone deeper and deeper and deeper into one kind of thing. And so this is why our food is made by people who are food engineers. And then those people do their thing. And then when we advise of what to eat, we go to a nutritionist, which is something completely different from what a food engineer does. So they don't have knowledge about each other's fields of interest. And so when you go to a doctor, they know everything about your body, but they don't know about the food that you're putting in your body. So right away you see that this compartmentalization, which will come up a few times more in this show, it's one of the biggest problems that we have. And so what we need to do is we need to roll back all of that information and go back to the source. So our food is when we look at it, we look at the properties that it has, and not anymore at the value that it gives us. So it's more like an external look at it instead of a holistic approach. So I have another example for you, for instance. So what you're looking at is it's a tomato that you can put on a sandwich. Now, this tomato, it's like a sandwich that you, for instance, you buy at a local gas station, or just a sandwich that you can just rip open the package, eat, and like continue on your way, which is convenient, right? Yeah. So if I make this sandwich at home and I grab my tomato and I slice my tomato into pieces and I put them on my bread will get soggy, and that won't take like a long time. It's very rapidly. So what they have come up with is tomatoes that basically you like, they don't produce any juice when you cut them open. Like, look at this guy, he's squeezing them, but there's no juice. So that's another way that our food is, our specific genes are looked for specific ways of selling you stuff, and it basically fools you. It fools you into thinking that what you're eating is the same thing, or what you're eating is something that is familiar to you. But the genetics of what it has is basically it's selected on certain defects. Because a tomato that's not juicy, you don't regularly want to eat it. Or a tomato that has no taste or a long shelf life, like, you don't care about it. What you want is healthy, delicious, nutritious food. And that's not being selected on anymore. What's being selected on is production value. So next up, so let's see all of those tomatoes. A whole bunch of tomatoes are, you want to eat them raw, as like a whole foods. And let's look at those other 80%, which are processed food. And those foods, those same tomatoes are also being used in processes. So let's say tomato ketchup, or pizzas, or any kind of food that you might want to eat. Let's say you're not the kind of person that wants to have pizza. You're the kind of person that wants to have a salad. So you take your spinach and your olives and what you put on there, because you want a little bit of saltiness and you want a little bit of oiliness. So what you put on there is sun-dried tomatoes. Now, most of those kind of tomatoes, which are considered industrial tomatoes, they are grown in Italy. No, they're not. You would think they would be grown into Italy, but they're grown into Turkey. Turkey is one of the biggest producers of industrial tomatoes.
Ama bu sanayi malı olduğu için biraz daha ufak tefek şeyler sıkıntı olmuyor. Bunlar mesela değil. Böcek zararları.
Bu böcek zararları mı?
Evet. Şunlar.
Ha, domates seven böcekler de var.
Tabii. Domatesin düşmanı böcekler var.
Allah.
Yeşil kurt, tuta absoluta, kırmızı örümcek. Bunlarla mücadele ediyoruz sürekli.
Allah Allah.
Evet.
Spider mites and caterpillars. Now, imagine a field like you see here. Basically, it's a big field of a lot of tomatoes, nicely grown under the high voltage mast. Those tomatoes, they're a monocrop, and the monocrop, you need to get the red spiders. You need to get them off, the red spider mites here, caterpillars. So what exactly do they spray on it? Well, I did some research, and one of the few things that they put on there, that they could put on there, is abamectin, which if you ingest it, it affects your nervous system. And it can also cause neurological effects if you have a prolonged use of them. They could also spray it with spirodiclofen, which affects the liver and the reproductive system. What also could be used against red spider mites could be bifenazate, which has a low acute toxicity, but it can have potential liver effects. Now, against caterpillars, you might want to spray spinosad, which gives you nausea and or gastrointestinal symptoms. Amamectin benzoate, also against caterpillars, affects the nervous system, causing tremors and muscle weakness. Bacillus thuringiensis. It's supposed to be safe for eating, but if you inhale it, it can cause respiratory irritation. Now, this is what they're spraying on your industrial tomatoes. I don't know what they're spraying on your non-industrial tomatoes, but let's just say I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice in any way. But if you don't know what's on there, you don't know if you want to eat it. I don't want to eat it. Do you? So this is why we're spreading this information, because it's reasonable that you wouldn't want to have it on your food. It's reasonable that you are not aware of it and that you are not considering that it is on there. And remember, this is not only tomatoes that we're talking about. We are talking about all of the whole foods, all of the industrial products that are based as a source for processed foods. Everything is grown in mass, and mass equals processing and pest control. So, this industrial tomato, let's say you want to put it on your salad and you have this this dried salad. By the way, if you want to dry, if you want to see how a tomato on a mass scale, how it's being dried, well, kind of looks like this. It's a giant field, open field, with tomatoes just laying around. And that means that, the flies and everything that continues to live there, they're around. And if the sun doesn't shine, it might rain. And if it rains, it might take longer for the tomatoes to dry. And so what happens if you put sun-dried tomatoes under a microscope, you can see, look, there's a little paw, and the paw is like an insect paw, and it could very well be on your sun-dried tomatoes that you have taken out of your jar, your little oily jar with sun-dried tomatoes for your salad, that you think you might be eating healthy. This is like a larvae that you can find on there. So the problem mostly is not all of this. The pesticides, the insects, the varieties, those are not the biggest problems. For the biggest problem in our food system, I'm going to refer to Dr. Cate Shanahan, who is a doctor, and she has some very disturbing facts about our food. And imagine these tomatoes that are dried and grown in Turkey being shipped off to Italy, and in Italy there's the factory that has the jars, that has the imported tomatoes. They put them in a jar and then they fill them with oil. They put the lid on it, they put the package around it, they say produced in Italy, because legally it is produced in Italy. And we like the fact that it's produced in Italy. And then the oil that it's soaked in is one of the most hazardous thing in your food. Let's have a look.
What are dark calories? Where do they lurk in the modern food supply, and why should we avoid them?
Right. So dark calories is the term I'm using to describe a collection of 8 vegetable seed oils that now compose 30% of our daily calories. On average, 30% are coming from vegetable oils. I call them the Hateful Eight, and they include corn, canola, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, rice bran, and grapeseed.
The Hateful Eight, they're everywhere. If you turn the package around and you see them on there. Now, this is very important. Remember this list. So first of all, we have corn. After that, we have cottonseed. No, we have canola. My bad. Now we have cottonseed. After that, we have soy. Coming from soybeans. After soybeans, we have sunflower. Followed up by safflower. Rice bran. And last but not least, grapeseed oil. Now, why are these oils so devastating for your health? Well, the reason is because they are in the same way that your other foods are industrially processed. These oils are industrially processed. It's the same way. I looked up the basic process that happens with oils. First, they go to a cleaning process where they are washed and dehulled. And in the case of cottonseed, there's it has a gossypol, which is toxic. So they should be dehulled for a very good reason. It also makes you wonder if they are all dehulled. Now, in some cases, for instance, canola and rice bran, they are heated, which is the heating of the oils is one of the most devastating things because it causes damage to the omegas that are in there, which are the fatty acids. Then the seeds they are crushed, and it's after that comes the solvent extraction, which happens with hexane. Now, I don't know if you know what hexane is, but have a fun time Googling that. Then the degumming stage comes, removing impurities, and in some cases, in the case of soybeans, it happens with acid. Then they're being neutralized, and that's reducing the free fatty acids that are in there. And that happens with sodium hydroxide. Now that's also something you want to Google, because you might want to wonder if you want to ingest that. After that comes the bleaching phase, then the deodorization phase. In some cases, the winterizations, which doesn't even happen with sunflower or safflower. But yeah, it's for usage at cold temperatures, so something you want to put in the fridge maybe. And then the extra filtration and the packaging. Now the problem is that because some of these things are actually, some of these Hateful Eight, if you would have the organic form, they would actually be good for you. You would want to have the omegas that are in sunflower oil or in safflower oil. They're actually really good for you. But because of this industrial processing, they're not so good anymore. Actually, they're very harmful. They're poisonous.
These oils are so abundant in the food supply, they have taken over our fat. The fats that we eat now are 80% coming from these oils instead of things like butter and the cheese and dairy fat and animal fats and coconut fat and other traditional fats that humans have always consumed. So it's 30% of our daily calories. And everybody knows that diet matters to health, yet doctors are not talking about how these oils might be affecting our health. Doctors don't even really learn what they are or why they're different. These oils are so abundant in the food supply, they have taken over our fat. The fats that we eat now are 80% coming from these oils instead of things like butter and the cheese and dairy fat and animal fats and coconut fat and other traditional fats that humans have always consumed. So it's 30% of our daily calories. And everybody knows that diet matters to health, yet doctors are not talking about how these oils might be affecting our health. Doctors don't even really learn what they are or why they're different.
Yes, so doctors, they have no idea. And so the moment that we figure this out, this is the moment where it should be known all across the world. Except it should be on the news. It should be everywhere. But what would happen to our global food supply is, well, we would stop buying it if everybody would know. And so this is a big problem. Now, someone who has been dealing with this for a long time is Dr. Brian Peskin. Dr. Brian Peskin, a little bit of background about the guy. His wife died after following up advice from a nutritionist, and he got he bit himself into the literature like a pit bull, and he tried to find out like what is actually there that can prove how foods work. What is it that I need that I'm indeficient about? Because we didn't understand. Now, Dr. Brian Peskin has been fighting this fight for a while, and even though he's been invited everywhere to talk about what he's discovered, and even that he's been doing this for a while. He has recently got backup by Ms. Shanahan, but still this message is not out there, and it's killing us. So about the 80% of the processed foods, this is what you really need to know.
Mitochondria is tied to lifespan in every cell of your body. Cardiolipin is what it's called. That is defective in every cancer tumor, regardless of the site, regardless of severity. The parent omega-6 is the #1 constituent of the cardiolipin. So fish oil has no parent omega-6. It can't help that. It is not going to do anything for anti-aging. So the ultimate in cancer prevention, based on this, is parent omega-6, not the derivatives.
And how do we find parent omega-6? What sources are
Parent
natural?
omega-6 is in seeds like safflower, sunflower, evening primrose. Flax has a little, but much more omega-3. So what I've discovered is you need a ratio of 1:1 to 2:1 in favor of parent omega-6, not omega-3, without the fish oil derivatives. No DHA, no EPA. Your body makes them as needed.
Yes, parent omega-6. And where do you find it? Sunflower oil, safflower oil, well, basically everything he just listed up. But the key issue is you want to have them organic. If you don't have them organic, if they are not cold pressed, then you can kind of assume that they're being treated with sodium hydroxide. So the fries that you're taking when you're eating out, or even the hummus that you're buying from your local grocery store, just turn the package around and look for the Hateful Eight. You know which one they are now. If you don't, take a screenshot of the picture that I just showed you and take it into the grocery store. Turn the package around and look at what you're buying, because this is the most poisonous thing in your food system. Now, you want to supply yourself with a healthy kind of omega-6. And also you want to figure out how to do the rest of your food system. But first, let's have a look at today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Druid's Secret. Druid's Secret is a fantastic website. It has a lot of different products that I really like. They're a seller for a lot of CBD oil. They have CBD oil in their organic form, so it's not toxic like the industrial ones. The CBD oil, they have them in different percentages. They have them in 10%, they have them in 20%, they have them in 30%. Now, if you don't know what CBD oil can be useful for, there's a whole bunch of things that it's useful for, but not all claims can be made on camera. But what it's definitely good for is for arthritis, for instance, if you have it. Or maybe you're the kind of person that has sleep problems. Well, I sometimes, if I can't sleep, I take a little bit of CBD oil. I have the 30% one, and I sleep like a baby. So I definitely recommend checking it out. There's even people with long COVID who are like, oh, I really want to take this CBD oil. So check them out, druidsecret.com. Go there and let them know who sent you. There's this promo code, which will probably be up here or down here. I'm gonna edit that in later, but let them know. They're a great friend of the show and we definitely support them. Also, quick tip, check their Pro HHC. It's a kicker. And yeah, great fan of all of their products, and I definitely hope that more people will find this website. It's called druidsecret.com. Go there, let them know who sent you there. It's the Paradigm Shift who sent you there, yeah, we'll be great on your way to establish a good health and to find yourself and to heal yourself with natural medicines and secrets that have been passed down from ages from mankind till the modern day, where we use technology in the right way to get better, to get a better understanding of our health. So let's get back to our regular programming. Yeah, what can we do after hearing all of these facts about what's problematic about our food system? Well, a paradigm shift is needed. So first thing that I recommend, learn how to cook. If you know how to make your own guacamole, your own hummus, your own dried tomatoes and put them into oil, all of those things, you don't have to miss out on all of the good stuff that you like to eat and that is good for you. It's worth it to invest your time. It's worth it to do that. Even if you have children, find someone, you or your partner or maybe your neighbor, that makes them in a batch. Try to set up a community that tries to incorporate all of these values. Tell them about the seed oils. Tell them about pesticides and the ingredients, which is number 2 is grow your own garden. Make your own tomatoes. It's easy to grow your own tomatoes. It's if you live in a sunny climate, it's just put them outside and water them regularly. If you don't live in a sunny climate, put them inside and still water them regularly. It's important. It's important that you have a connection. Also, not only with your food system, it's also about growing things. Learn your children that it's good to grow things. Make them understand that something grows from a seed, then it grows up to a plant, then it grows a fruit, and in that fruit there's new seeds. It's the cycle of life. It's not meant to be something that is not reproducible. It is meant to have life energy, which is in the food that you're eating, which is what you are getting once you're eating it. So the second thing that you can do is, if you cannot grow it yourself, buy organic. Definitely buy your oils organic. It's one of the most important things that you can do, because if you have been eating a diet where you have been eating the broken fatty acids or the dark calories as they are called, then you want to get up to your health and you want to have the right omegas replacing it. Why? Why is this? Because if your cells are broken, your cells need new fatty acids to mend those cells. And if you put broken omegas in, you create broken cells. And if you put whole omegas in, then you can recover. Even if you have the good stuff, then you can have a little bit of the bad stuff even. Ask Dr. Brian Peskin. Now I should tell you guys, I'm nowhere near a doctor. I'm just a guy reporting what is out there. So do your own research, but I'm putting you on your way to figure this out. Now, one of the other important things that you need to know is, don't just buy your seeds anywhere. Don't just buy a tomato out of the store or whatever you want to grow and get your seeds from there, because organic seeds are what needed, because the seed industry is all trying to be their one seed out there. They're trying to monopolize the market. And what we need is a lot of diversity. Nature functions on diversity. We need 1 million flowers to grow, only so that we can have 100 that are very special and that will continue into the future. So buy your seeds organic. Go to an organic seed store and you will find 100 pages, 100 different species on different tomatoes that you've never seen before. You can grow purple tomatoes, you can grow yellow tomatoes, you can grow orange tomatoes, you can grow tomatoes that in shapes that you've never even heard of. You can grow star tomatoes if that's what you're into. So it's fun as well. Try to explore, like, okay, what could I do? What would be my type of thing? And it could be special. It could be interesting. If you go to your neighbors, you put them on the fruit shelf and they'll be like, what's that? Well, that's a tomato that I grew myself. So figure that out and try to find the best heirloom seeds. If there's heirloom seeds in your neighborhood and people still have them, they've grown them from a long time ago, then try to grow those. But don't try to continue with the industrial seeds that are out there. Those are just for hobbyists. You need the real stuff. So, one other thing that you want to do is you don't want to go into monocultures. You've seen what monocultures do. All the monocultures, they need pesticides, they need herbicides, because nature doesn't deal with monocultures. So we need to grow polycultures with lots of different foods. So I know that we only took out the tomatoes today, but imagine what other foods you could grow. What a jungle of trees that jungle of groceries could your garden be. It's the most important thing that all of the diversity is in your garden. It will help to get pesticide. It will be natural pesticides. It will help to get insects out. You don't only want to grow stuff that you can eat. You also want to grow certain flowers, like Having some lavender in your garden is excellent. Try to put some garlic in there, some onions, all of those things will help to protect your plants from what it is that they need. Put some stuff in there that are nitrogen fixers as well. So put some comfrey in there, and try to have your garden as organic and as diverse and as beautiful as possible. That's the way that nature functions, and that's the way that we need to start functioning. So understand all of what I'm saying. They're all permaculture practices. If you haven't heard about this, permaculture is the way if ever you want to grow something. Don't just try to do it any other way, because it is the most superior way. Now, all of this, it all continues to grow to small-scale sustainability. And small-scale sustainability, whatever you have, if you grow in pots on your balcony or whatever, it's good. It's the right step to take. But in the end, you might want to consider if you don't want to grow a bigger piece of land, because small-scale sustainability can still be a couple of acres or a hectare or whatever. That's still considered small-scale sustainability. And when you think about small-scale sustainability, you're not just talking about your own local self-sufficiency. You're not just talking about that. You could be talking about amazing projects. You could be talking about landscape restoration. Now, what am I saying here? Landscape restoration. Because if people are talking about, well, the world is going to end because we have climate change and we have drought and we have all of these issues that we don't know how to deal with, let me just show you what this guy has been doing for the last 13 years.
Hi, Jeff Lawton here, and I'm in Jordan. I'm in a refugee resettlement area on a westerly slope in the Jordan Valley. And this is an area where people settle land out of necessity. It's a really degraded area, but we've put a project up here. I've been working here 15 years. I've been on this project for 8 years. But anyway, we've got soil creation, we've got a food forest, and up here, we've got some really interesting landscape now developing.
That's a jungle out in the desert. Now, you might be thinking, that's not something that I could do, but you could. If only you had the dedication to do it, you could. It is possible. There's no reason why we should let the earth go to waste. There's fantastic opportunities out there. If you have the opportunity to buy a piece of land that is next door and it's degraded, and other people think you might be crazy because you might be paying something that they say it's not even worth it to pay that for it. You could put it with the right techniques and with the right way of handling things. You could put it into something like this.
Now, going through the more diverse section here. It's the end of winter, so a lot of trees are kind of deciduous, like our mulberry here. Guava's looking good, olive, and custard apple's looking a bit sad, but it'll come back as the heat comes in the spring. Citrus is flowering like crazy. Now, going through the more diverse section here. It's the end of winter, so...
Now, this project is in Jordan.
A lot of trees are kind of deciduous, like our mulberry here.
Now, this project is in Jordan, on the bottom of a seafloor, which is the saltiest, driest, hottest place that you could ever start a project like this. Now, I take my hat off to Jeff Lawton, who has understood the permaculture principles very well and who have created this. what does this mean? This means that knowledge, if you can understand this kind of knowledge will reshape the world. And that is the reason why we are starting the paradigm shift. Because for all of the problems that are out there, all of the solutions are out there as well. And that is why we are doing this. That is why we are starting this show, and that is why we're trying to talk about it. And if you want to talk about it too, then put something in the comments below and try to give this a like up. Try to share this with your friends who are still stuck in their usual way of living and who want to make changes for the better. They just don't know how to do it better. Share this with everyone. Share, like it, subscribe, put something in the comments, and we'll be very thankful for it, so that we can up that algorithm and we can start producing more of this, because this is only the first topic. So there's gonna be way more like this. All right, I'm about done. I hope it didn't bore you to death. We'll be out there again, and so stick tuned to the channel, and we'll be with you very soon. All right, peace out. Thank you very much.